Hey, everybody. This is Mother Teresa. It is Tuesday night. That means that it's time to grandstand. And I hope that you are ready to talk about shifting. Yes, if you joined me on Monday, and if you listen to my Monday morning motivation, then you know that I talked about shifting. And that's what we're going to pick up on tonight, and we're going to talk about shifting. But before we get started, I just want to welcome everyone tonight. And not only do I want to welcome everyone tonight, but I also want to ask that you will share this with someone. Let them know that Mother Teresa is on. And not only is Mother Teresa on, but we want to make sure that you join in with us. So let them know, hey, join in with me. I want you to listen to something on tonight. And we're going to be talking about shifting. I hope everyone has had a great week on this week. And I'm trying to make sure that I have all of my things together so I can see everyone and make sure that the people that are joining in with me, that I can actually see you and hear you. Hello there, my sister Cynthia. She said hello to all of the grandstanders. She is here with us tonight. My mom is here with me on tonight. My husband is probably logged in. I'm not sure. It looks like Ned is already joined in with us on tonight. So listen, you all. Thank you all so very much for joining in with me. And again, tonight we're going to be just kind of picking up on where we left off, or where I left off on Monday. And if you can recall, for those that heard me talk a little bit on Monday about shifting, remember I said that sometimes we have to shift some things in our lives when it becomes a little bit uncomfortable for you. Honey, if you can come and close this door when it comes a little bit uncomfortable for you, or sometimes we shift when we're trying to achieve certain items or certain goals in our lives, and we will shift. Thank you, honey. We will shift. And not only that, but sometimes there are opportunities or times when we need to shift because there's some stuff, and I'm just going to say stuff. There's some stuff in our lives that we need to get rid of. And as I was stating that about the stuff in our lives that we need to get rid of, one of my friends and one of my faithful followers, she shared with me that she actually, on either that day or a couple of days or within the last couple of days, that she had actually cleared out and packed up like a big bag of clothes that she needed to donate to Goodwill. So when we're talking about shifting, sometimes we need to shift by downsizing and getting rid of some of the things that we actually have in our possession. Because sometimes we can have so much stuff. Let me make sure you all can hear me. We can have so much stuff in our possession that that it's taking away or it's blocking our ability to bring other new things into our lives. And I'm particularly talking about when you have stuff, possessions, and material things. Every now and then, it's really good to just go through and declutter, just getting rid of the stuff. Okay, so when we talk about shifting, again, what I wanted to share with you all is shifting is more about a mindset. And not only is it a mindset, but it's also sometimes we have to shift our habits or the direction that leads to us growing and achieving. Okay. Hello there, Sister Sherry and Shekinah. So when we're shifting, we're talking about sometimes, again, I said it's about shifting your mindset. It's about shifting your ability to open yourselves up for growth and for doing new things. And sometimes what we want to talk about and what I'm going to share with you all tonight is about my personal shift, or a couple of shifts that I had to make in my life. And when we're talking about the need for shifting, again, sometimes we become stagnated. We become just kind of stuck in a place where we know that we need to make a move or make a change. But sometimes dealing with our mindset, sometimes we don't necessarily want to shift. We don't necessarily want to change, because when we change is hard. Change is scary. And sometimes we get so complacent in the places that we are. And then it's like, well, you know what? This feels pretty good. I'm comfortable here. This spot in my life, or this place in my life, has become very comfortable for me. And because it's become very comfortable for me, I don't want to change. I don't want to shift my mindset. How many of you all have heard of the growth mindset versus a fixed mindset? If you have a growth mindset, that means that you are willing to take on new challenges. You are willing to try new things. You don't necessarily say, "Oh, because I am not skilled in this, I'm not going to be able to accomplish this." So if you have a growth mindset, you will basically say, "Oh, even though I don't have the skills to do this, I'm willing to learn." Okay, I'm willing to give it a try. Hello there, Candace. I'm willing to give it a try so I can achieve the goal that I have set. Now, if you have a fixed mindset, which is pretty dangerous, if you have a fixed mindset, you would think, "Oh, I was never good at math. I'm not going to be able to to pass this, or I'm not going to have the skills that it would take for me to get a promotion in this field, especially if it has something to do with math, because I'm not good at math." Well, what you're saying is, I don't want to learn anything new because I'm not good at it. I'm not going to learn anything new. Therefore, I'm not willing to advance myself. So remember that. And if you've never heard those terms, look it up, do a little bit of research, and think about fixed mindset. Hello there, Sister Felicia. I'm doing well today. Fixed mindset and a growth mindset. And let me just tell you, you want to always have a growth mindset, because that means you're willing to take a risk. That means you're willing to learn new things so you can grow and you can excel. If you have a fixed mindset, you're just going to be like, I'm good where I'm at. I don't want to learn anything new. I am comfortable being complacent. I'm comfortable in my role, and I don't want to try anything else. Don't be like that, okay? Because in life, we're always going to have challenges. We're always going to have opportunities for us to grow and for us to learn. And if you are willing to grow and you're willing to learn, hello there, Carla. If you're willing to grow and you're willing to learn, that opens up the doors for new opportunities for you. And that's what it's all about, is making sure that you are open, that you want to have that mindset where, hey, let me try this. And guess what? If I don't succeed, at least I tried, okay? One of the other things is that when we are needing to shift, and that's what we're talking about for those that are just joining in tonight, we're talking about shifting. And a lot of times we're shifting because we've become uncomfortable. Sometimes we get into a place where we become so uncomfortable with the state that we're in that it stirs us to want to do something different. So we know we have to shift. We know we have to shift because we are uncomfortable. And the key takeaway that I want you to think about is that when you're feeling stuck or you're feeling unfulfilled, guess what? it is time to shift. Now, I started talking about are the growth mindsets versus a fixed mindset. And that is one of the things that you definitely have to have when you're trying to achieve like some personal accomplishments. If you're wanting to move and you're wanting to grow, you're definitely going to have, hello there, Kim, and hello there, Miracle. You're definitely going to have a growth mindset. And then one of the other things when we're talking about the power of a growth mindset, you start looking at those strategies, different types of strategies that you maybe have learned or someone is helping you, maybe coaching you to be able to move into that different place where that shift needs to take place. And a lot of times what happens is that we sometimes will shy away from moving or shifting because we're afraid of criticism. We're afraid of not only the criticism, but we're afraid of failure. And so again, you think about those people who are risk takers, those people who are willing to try something just because somebody said, here's an opportunity. Well, guess what? Those are going to be those people that when they are shifting, they've had a shift in their mindset, and they're going to be those ones that are typically going to be those ones that are excelling. But guess what? If you're afraid of criticism, and for some of us, we are afraid of criticism because maybe as a child, or maybe we've had some traumas in our life. And of course, me being in the field that I'm in, I'm always thinking about childhood traumas or just trauma in general. So what is it about you that you feel like you don't want to try because of the criticism? Maybe somebody criticized you as a child and you never really fully worked through that. But I'm going to tell you, listen, for most of the people that are on here, I think everybody that's listening tonight is a grown adult, okay? You are an adult. And so hopefully you have moved beyond that. Amen, girl. I taught kids in schools all over the Metroplex in Dallas ISD, and of a mindset, and it works. Absolutely, Kim, you are absolutely right. Talking about that growth mindset, like I said, if you never heard the topic or heard people talk about a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset, it's eye-opening. And I could really spend the entire 30 minutes talking about that, because when you think about it and you think about our minds, that they used to have a slogan saying a mind is a terrible thing to waste. It really is. And a mind that is not willing to grow and shift is a terrible thing to waste too, because what it means is that we stay stagnant. We stay in the places of comfort, or we stay in the places of comfort and well, this is the way that we've always done it. And so many of you all have heard that. And especially like at your jobs, people say, well, this is the way we've always done it. This is the way we've did it 50 years ago. So I'm not willing to change. Listen, let me just tell you, this is a new day, a new time. It's time for a change. It's time for a shift, you all. And so, and as we are shifting, we've got to make sure that we're shifting, because when you become when you decide that you want to shift, let me just tell you, it's not going to just happen overnight. You're not going to develop this growth mindset and then all of a sudden now you're doing things in a new and an exciting way. Hello there, Cousin Betty. What will happen? Some of you all probably have heard of the 2190 rule. Now, the 2190 rule is that it takes 21 days for something to become a habit, okay? 21 days for something to become a habit. And it takes 90 days for it becomes a lifestyle change, okay? And so for some of us, we as older people, including myself, you are right. We have that problem with our kids and our grands. Absolutely, Kim, you are definitely right. But going back and talking about lifestyle changes and habits and different things like that. And I guess that's one of the things that I can definitely say is that my son tells me all the time that I need to stretch. Okay, we're getting older. Definitely Kim said that earlier. We're getting older, and I love telling people I am 60 years old and I am absolutely proud of it. Okay, I'm absolutely proud of the fact that I am 60 years old or 60 years young, however you want to think about it. But one of the things that my son often tells me is that he says, "Ma, you've got to stretch every day. You've got to stretch every day." And he says, if you stretch every day, it becomes a habit, and then you will want to stretch. Well, let me just tell you, it hasn't, it's not a habit yet. It's definitely not a lifestyle change because I am so inconsistent with it. But in order for a shift to happen, I know that I've got to do it and I've got to be consistent because he wants the very best for me, and he wants me to be able to live a long life and live a healthy life. So he's really telling me something that I know to be true. But I am being stubborn. I'm back in that old mindset of this is the way I've always done it, or stretching is sometimes uncomfortable, so I don't necessarily want to do it. But as I stated earlier, when you get to a point in your life where you feel like, okay, enough is enough, I need to make some changes. I need to do this for my overall health. And now people say health is wealth, which is true. I need to do this so I will feel better. I know that this is something that I absolutely have to do. Now, let me just tell you all, I shared earlier that I was going to share some different things about, having a mindset change and how it makes a difference when you have a shift in your mindset. One of the things, and I've shared with my audience before, is that when I first graduated from high school, I immediately started CBF Austin. Well, there was a lot of things that was going on in my life, and after the first year, I was like, you know what? I need to do something different. And I wasn't really academically, I think I was ready, but there were some other things that was going on in my life. And so I kind of stepped away from it. And let me tell you all, I stepped away from school for 10 years. So from 1982 to 1992, I was just kind of bouncing and just kind of floating. Life was lifing, and thank God my husband made a very good salary, so we were not struggling. But but what I knew is that that's not what I wanted to be doing. The types of jobs that I was working, where I was at, it was not where I saw myself. And so, but my mind had to shift. I had to have a new mindset. I had to have a growth mindset because I had kind of gotten relaxed. I was in that fixed mindset where, things are good. Okay, we're doing pretty good. But then when I decided to go back to school, and I decided that, you know what, I need to do this not only for myself, but for my children. I needed to do this for my family. And so, and when I decided to go back to school, and it was like, of course, I loved school. I always have loved school, have always been a student, wanting to learn, and always just enjoyed it. But what I did know is that in order for me, Andre King, hello there, Andre King, my nephew. Miracle said, this is what I'm currently going through, and I need to make a lot of health changes. Absolutely, Miracle. It is hard and a push, but as we get older, we can stretch. I do what I do, but I stay within beliefs along with God's guidance. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Andre King, I've been waiting for you to join me. I hope your wife is sitting there listening as well. So let me just say, going back to what I was saying, is that I knew that I needed to shift. I knew that I needed to get back in school in order for our lives to be better, okay? In order for me to feel fulfilled, in order for me to, to really accomplish the things that I had dreamt about when I was a young girl. And I knew that in order for me to do that, that education was the key. And so when I went back to school, like I said, I absolutely loved it. Went through, and it was such a drive on me to go ahead and to complete school. You all, I got back in school, and I knew I wanted to be a social worker. And so what I did is I started Angelina College and Stephen F. Austin at the same time. I graduated from Angelina College with my associate's degree in, I think, May of 1995. I graduated from Stephen F. Austin with my bachelor's degree in December of 1995. So I was really, really putting in the work because I was determined, and I needed to do the associate's degree really quickly because I wanted that social work degree. And at that time, that social work license. And at that time, you could at least apply for your licensure with an associate's degree. So I did that. Superwoman, I don't know about that, Candace, but I just knew that I had to do it for you, and I had to do it for Net. And then I was like, you know what, this is pretty good. So I took my exam, I got my social work degree, and I was like, you know what, this is pretty good. And I decided, you know what? Let me just keep going. Let me just keep going. And so within, I just continued in school. I think I took a little bit of a break, and I continued in school, and I decided to get my master's degree in counseling. And so all of that to say, you all, it took me having to have a growth mindset and a shift in the way that I was thinking, because there was no way that I could have accomplished those things first without the help of God. And of course, having a very loving and supportive family. My husband, thank God, he was just right there, able to take care of my girls while I was in school. My girls were good girls, and so it made it easy for me to go to school. But having a growth mindset and wanting to shift, amen, God's path, yes, having a desire to shift. What happened, like people say, what happened was I had gotten comfortable a little bit, but then I got uncomfortable. Because when I tell my testimony, and people, when I tell you all this, and I've shared this before, and people are like, there is absolutely no way. When I first started back in 1991, working for Nacogdoches County Co-op as a paraprofessional, I started in 1991 as a paraprofessional. I was in school. No, I hadn't started school yet, but that was kind of like my push to get back and get finished. Because guess how much my salary was for a paraprofessional in 1991? You all are not going to believe this, but I would work all month long, and I would bring home the grand total of $457. You heard me right. That was for a full month, not a week, not 1 week. That was for 4 weeks, a whole month. And I did that for about 2 years. I did that for about 2 years. Yes. And when I say that my salary was $457 for a full month, most people could not believe that. They could not believe that because, first of all, the lifestyle that we lived did not match up. It definitely did not match up. But I thank God that we served a mighty God who was able to stretch what we had. And again, remember I said my husband has been a police officer for years and years and years. So he's made a great salary. I thank God for that. And so, hello there, my friend. I say my good friend, my director. Um, so when people talk about not being able to make it and having to have a shift in their lives, sometimes it's those stories like that that will push you to shift. Because when I tell you, I went from that amount on a monthly basis to where I was able to present my proposal to our special ed director. The first one said no. They were not she was not interested. But then God sent Mr. Shoemake from Louisiana, and he was like, that sounds good, Miss Caldwell. I think we could use a social worker. So in having to put together my own job proposal with everything about what a school social worker does and how they operate, and different things like that. And he even asked me, he said, well, what do you think your salary should be? Well, let me just tell you, I went from $457, which I think equated to about $7,500 a year, to almost about $40,000 in a matter of a couple of years. And at that time, $40,000 was a great salary. It was like that was the most money I have had ever made in my life. And it was just like, okay, all right, we're still doing good. But that's what happens when you shift. That's what happens when you get tired of the situation that you're in and you make a choice that you're going to have to change some things. And so because I was tired of the situation or tired of the circumstances, tired of that salary, I decided, listen, we've got to shift. And that's exactly what happened. Yes, Betty, I see where you said no, and Andre said, wow. Andre, listen, that was back in 91, and it was unheard of. Kim, now they don't get much. Even today, about $800 a month. Couldn't live out, oh my gosh, without our parents. You're absolutely right. Thank you, Kim. Thank you. And thank you, Dr. Remnick. He did it back then and he will do it again. Yes, absolutely. My sister sent, yes, thank God. Let me just tell you all, I can talk about me. I can talk about my story. I can talk about the things in my life that has caused me to shift. And I can tell you that none of the shifting that has happened in my life has been by chance or happenstance. One of the things that I do know is that one of my sayings that I love, and it's just something that I've picked up years ago. And I said, no matter what a person has been, they can choose to be different, but it's all about choice. And let me just tell you, when you get tired of living a certain way, you have to make a shift, but we all have a choice. And we all have a choice to either stay in the situation, stay in the circumstances that we're in, or we can change it. And it's totally left up to you. And when you make that change, remember I talked about fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. When you have a growth mindset and you get tired of the situation and the circumstances that you're living in, you will shift, okay? And you will shift and you will do it well. You will do it sometimes without effort. And I say we do things without effort, and that's not totally all on our own. It's because God has ordained the shifts in our lives, okay? So when God ordains the shifts in our lives, he makes it to where it is bearable. It may not be easy all the time, but it is bearable. And you all, I'm not sure what time it is because sometimes I can get a little bit winded. Oh, I'm helping you, Net? Okay, all right. Well, if I'm helping somebody, then that means I can go just a little bit longer. So when God shifts us, when God gives us the desires, he said he will give us the desires of our heart. And I am a living witness that he will give us the desires of our heart. If we learn to trust him, if we learn to obey him, if we learn to walk in the destiny and the will that he has for our lives. But let me tell you, we can't go be out here just doing kind of any and everything and expect for God to shift us and move us into a different mindset and a different thing. We've got to be willing, okay? We've got to be obedient. We've got to make sure that we are doing the things that God would have us to do. And if we're doing the things that God will have us to do, when he orders our steps, because he orders your steps just like he orders mine. And when he is ordering our steps, we've got to be willing and we've got to be obedient. Remember, I said that it's not always easy. It's not even always comfortable. Let me just tell you another shift that happened. And again, I can talk about me. I can't talk about, I can talk about my kids. I can talk about my family. But the best person I can talk about and share the experiences is of Teresa. And let me just tell you, when God shifted us to Baytown, first of all, this was the biggest blessing that could have ever happened to our family. But it didn't come without a cost, okay? I had to leave all of my family. I had to leave my friends. I had to leave all of those things. Good, Carla, and everybody, I'm glad it's helping you. I had to leave all of those people that I was familiar with. I had to leave my loved ones. I had to leave my comfort. I had to leave those things that I was comfortable in, those places that I was comfortable in. Nacogdoches is my hometown, always will be. But I had to leave Nacogdoches really in order to do some things that I knew that God had ordained in my life. Not saying that it could not have been done in Nacogdoches, but that wasn't God's design. So because we had to move, hello, Dr. Babin, because we had to shift and because God sent us here, and he didn't just send me. He sent me, he sent my husband, he sent the rest of my children. Eventually, my both of my daughters wound up in Baytown. But God did this by design. He did it by purpose. And one of the things, as I stated, is that we are definitely faith walkers. And when you are a faith walker, that means that you walk not knowing where you're going to end up, but you walk knowing that wherever you end up is where God designed you to be. And so when we moved to Baytown, you all, when I moved here, I didn't have a place to live. I like to kid and say I was homeless. I was living in a hotel because I couldn't find a house. We had our home in Nacogdoches. We had not sold our home, so we came here looking for a place to rent, a rental. Couldn't find anything. I was here from that Sunday and I began to start searching. Of course, we were searching before we actually, when I accepted the job. But by that Thursday, the realtor called and she said, Miss Caldwell, we have a place, the house that you had looked at, it's available. She said, but I'm going to tell you now, in Baytown, if you want a house, if you want a rental or anything, she said, you need to go ahead and jump on it now. She said, because the people here have so much disposable income that they pay their rentals by the year. Now, I say God is good, and God is real good, but he didn't bless me like that, okay? Remember, we had another house, a mortgage in Nacogdoches. And so I signed the paperwork, and on that Thursday, by that Friday, I had the keys to the house. It started out as a rental, but we eventually purchased that home and stayed there for about 5 years. And it was a home that was comparable to our dream home that we had built in Nacogdoches. The only thing is that we lived on 12 acres out in the country with lots of trees. And this was the first time that we lived in a subdivision that had a HOA and all of that. And that it seemed like we could reach out and touch our neighbors. But let me just tell you, and that was our first home that we bought in Baytown. We are in our second home that we purchased in Baytown now, and it's another God thing. It's another God thing. It's another shift. It's another way of how good God is, how good and how blessed the people of God are. And I know that I have went over my time, and I'm going to start wrapping it up because I want to leave you all wanting to hear a little bit more. But I'm just going to share with you all that, let me just tell you again, he sent you for me. You are absolutely right, Dr. Remnick. And that's another story. Let me tell you all, God is so good. He is so kind. I had never met Precious Remnick, never heard of Precious Remnick, didn't know anything about Baytown, didn't know a soul here, didn't know anybody. Everybody looked weird when I came here. The people looked different. They talked different. Now remember, I'm from Nacogdoches, good old East Texas, the oldest town in Texas. Everybody looked different. It was a different, this was like a country girl coming to the city, and I was by myself because my husband was substitute teaching in Nacogdoches and he had to finish the year. So I came by myself. I spent quite a bit of time here before he was able to come. I came in April. Yes, at the end of April. But let me just tell you, let me get back to this before I close. It was something that was going on at work. And of course, I had always questioned, okay, God, I know you're sending us to Baytown. And as soon as I applied for the job, let me just tell you all, I knew that the job was mine. And I began to tell the people in Nacogdoches, we're moving. We're moving. Where are you moving? We're moving to Baytown. A lot of the people was like, why are you moving to Beaumont? We're not moving to Beaumont. We're moving to Baytown. Do you know anybody in Baytown? Absolutely not. Don't know anybody in Baytown. I don't even know if I had ever even visited Baytown, but I knew this is where God was sending us to. And God had spoke to me and said, I'm sending you there for ministry. Okay. My husband is an ordained elder. We've been in a body of believers since we were 18 years old. Me, my husband, even younger. But God said, I'm sending you there for ministry. So a lot of times when you think about ministry, you think about in a pulpit as a pastor of a church. But that's not where God has taken us yet. But there was a situation that was happening at work. And I remember so clearly, God speaking to me and telling me, I sent you to Baytown for Precious Remnick. You all, it just about blew my mind. Because again, like I said, and people would ask me, do you know her? Do you know Dr. Remnick? No, never met her before in my life. And I thank God for how he does things, because God will put you in a place where you need to be, and you don't even know that that's where you need to be. You don't even realize that he's sending you there for not only yourself, but to be a blessing to other people. And not only just to be a blessing to other people, because I believe this, that I am sent to be an encourager, but I also know that I need to be encouraged. So just as I am always sending out my Monday morning motivations and different things like that, I believe that in turn, while I'm blessing others, God is continually blessing me. He's pouring into me. So I am grateful, you all. This is, when I talk about a shift in my life, I can go on and on and on. But I will say this, be ready for the shift. when you are ready for the shift, God will blow your mind. And if he blows your mind, that lets me know that, hey, if he can blow my mind like this, then there is more. There is always more. There is always more. What does the Bible tell us about? We can't even begin to fathom what God, the blessings and the great things that God has in store for us. So guess what? The things that we're thinking about, they're little. They're little. They're little compared to the things that God is able to do. You all listen, I have enjoyed you all. Hello there, Melissa. Hello there. Hello there, Veronica. He sent you for me. Yes, he did. Whew, this has been a lot tonight. But let me just tell you, when you're talking about shifting and you're talking about a mindset and a mind changing, not just a fixed mindset, but having a growth mindset, remember I said, no matter what a person has been, you can choose to be different. And if you choose to be different, that's okay. Because God made each and every one of us, first of all, in his image, but then he gave us some characteristics that are only for us. Somebody told me once that I was acting like somebody else. And I said, you know what? I beg to differ with you. I can only act like Teresa. And my mom, who did not name me, but she told me a couple of weeks ago that that the way that we pronounce my name was not what she originally gave me as my name, which kind of blew my mind. And I'm like, Mom, I'm 60 years old, and you're just telling me that the way that I pronounce my name is incorrect. So Mom and I had a big laugh about that. But listen, everybody, it has been a great grandstanding with Mother Teresa. If this is your first time joining me, please don't let it be the last time. We have a good time on Tuesday nights. I usually only grandstand for about 30 minutes and I talk about the different things. I usually come from the different chapters in my journal that I've written. If you haven't picked it up, please go to Amazon and pick it up. I usually talk about that, but on this week, I decided to just kind of continue with what I was talking about on Monday, which was shift. Now, again, if this is your first time, please don't let it be your last time. Tell somebody about grandstanding with Mother Teresa. Share it on your social media platforms. We're also on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and those different platforms. I've enjoyed everybody. I hope you all enjoyed grandstanding with Mother Teresa. Everybody have a great night. Bye-bye, and we'll see you next Tuesday. I love you too, Miracle. Candace said, good night, grandstanders. Here we grow in him. Absolutely right. Hello there, my friend. Is it Shanidra? I can't pronounce your name, but you know you're my friend. We had the pleasure of meeting not too long ago. I love you, Miracle. Candace says good night, and my sister normally says good night, grandstanders. So I'm going to say good night, grandstanders. If you missed it all, go back and catch the replay. We'll see you on next Tuesday night at 7 o'clock. Bye-bye, everybody.